a lot of things to talk about when it comes to Jack, so we may take some time for that. So, Kreese, let us first talk about what Jack got.
He got only an LD, no other changes, aside from, you know, the level 80 boost. Actually, I guess he did get his character boards altogether, right? He didn't have those before. He was one of the last characters to miss character boards.
I think.
So he did get some straight up power boosts to his kit. I'm not going to go through them though, but there's some nice boosts to his character kit. Just keep those in mind. A little bit more overflow, a little bit more potency hits, just general stuff. It doesn't change the way he works. It just gives him some nice oomph. So just keep that in mind. I forgot that. He was one of the last event characters to not have character boards. Jack might have been the last one, in fact, if I remember correctly. If not, he was one of the last. Anyways, LD. What is his LD? It is a 4-use ability called Piercing Gleam. Auto inflicts break. I'm not counting Aranea because she is a global first, so she doesn't really follow normal things. Hoaxstar. Anyways, Piercing Gleam. Auto breaks all targets. Is 2 HP dumps that deals 50% cumulative splash to non-primary targets. Gives Jack Brave afterwards, and then inflicts a new debuff to all targets called Katana Wounds. It is a stackable debuff. It starts at 1 stack. He can, or 2 stacks if it's already applied once. That has incremental increases in its potency as it increases in stacks up to 5. At max potency, it decreases enemy defenses by 50% and increases brave damage taken by 30%. It only lasts 6 turns from the time it's applied, but it's a pretty sizable bonus to damage dealt while it's there. So, pretty nice. And that's really it. Otherwise, the way Jack works is he's the same way he always works. He basically does the evasion thing. He tries to steal as many turns and put himself in front of the next enemy to attack and do that as much as he can until he runs out of abilities. That's his gimmick. It helps that he has a way to insta-break targets. He has a little utility with the debuff. He doesn't really change the way he works. When he works, he works. When he doesn't work, he doesn't work. I skipped him the first time around. I'm probably skipping him this time. Arrow, you had Jack the first time around, didn't you?
No, I did not get lucky at all with any tickets I used on that banner back at the
Yeah, just to interrupt you here, Infamous Element is correcting one thing. He inflicts break only on the selected
on the primary target.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. So it's not an AoE.
I said all targets. I meant the single target. I apologize. Yeah, it is a single target. You're right, Infamous. I apologize for misspeaking on that. It is a single target break.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I'll talk about it though.
Yeah, you can talk about it a bit.
I did pull on the banner though. I decided to go with some tickets just to see if I could get lucky while Mino was streaming yesterday, the Lost Chapter himself. And I did get the LD in the 30-ish ticket mark. I tried some more tickets till I hit about 250 left. No luck getting EX. I'm trying to debate if I want to build him or not, but I'm on the fence right now. I do have enough EX tokens to EX token him, so it's not a concern about like, do I have the resources to build him? It's just I don't know if I want to use EX tokens to get away with building him, and I don't really want to spend more tickets on the banner. But I think he's good. He's always good for like funky turn shenanigans. What was it? There's that early Lufenia with Kuja, where you could use like Kuja or Kuja Friend, and then you just Brave and HP plus attack the whole time, activating the EX every now and then or something, and you could just demolish the fight. There's crazy things like that you can do. So if you're in the funky turn shenanigan stuff, he can be pretty funny. And I mean, he does. But the thing is, even the most scary thing with him is that there's going to be times where you can't afford to be broken, and there's like those guaranteed hits, and then he's like sitting at low HP, and that's like the one thing Jack dreads the most is guaranteed hit HP attacks on himself. So just keep that in mind. He needs to be protected in some way.
Yeah, that was Bob. That was Bahamut Lufenia.
Bahamut. I'm sorry. Yeah, whatever the one with Kuja was. That was crazy stuff. I remember watching that person that did that, and that was just like funny as heck to me. But because it was totally obviously not intended, and then somebody did that anyway. Are we going to talk about the call thing in a moment, or do we need to start talking about it now?
We should probably start talking about it now. What's the interaction with the call?
Okay, so people know that you can inflict the debuff with which Kreese already mentioned all the goodies that it comes with, and it's one of those things where people are really hyped to pull for the call. I'm gonna be the negative Nancy real quick and say, hey, depending on your resources, if you can't afford that luxury, don't go for that luxury. You will be fine. There is never any one thing you must have to proceed in this game. Like, this is just not how the nature of this game works. So if you are somebody who is low on resources, can't afford tickets, can't afford gems, to be wasting on a banner like that, don't worry about it. There will be other calls that will let you do more brave damage. In fact, I think we already have that with Reno's call, right? Like, he inflicts the numb debuff, which already lets you do extra brave damage anyway. So there's maybe, a Jax LD call is really good, but I don't want people to think that they have to have it or they'll never be able to beat future LUFENIAs. It's not going to be like that, guys.
No, it's exactly like that. If you don't have Jack's LD call, you will never, ever beat any content. That is 100% correct. Let me talk about Jack a couple, because I do have Jack. I have his full kit. I didn't have it before, so I've been playing with him. I got him through a couple LUFENIAs here today. He's not as straightforward to play as just a straightforward damage dealer, because now we do live in the guaranteed hit time of LUFENIA, so he can die after he uses his EX and is down to 1 HP with his perfect evasion. Well, if you have guaranteed hit, you can die, or splash damage, or all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you do have to be careful, and understanding how his turn jumping works, you kind of have to get used to that a little bit. But he was a really good damage dealer back then. He's a really good damage dealer now. But the hype has been that you, as Arrow's been talking about, you want to pull for him for his LD, and even now, 8 months, 9 months in the future. The Japanese version of the game is about 8-9 months ahead of us. People still use Jack's LD call because it gives that very, very good debuff that's very powerful, that allows you to jump into a damage phase and just do a lot of damage for 6 turns, or 6, it's on the enemy, so I think 5 or 6 turns, enemy turns. And with all the delete delay in the game in Japan, that's a lot of turns and can be throughout a good chunk of the fight, as long as the enemies don't cleanse, and just make sure you don't do it right before they cleanse. Do it right after they cleanse and you'll be fine. I think there's a good argument. I've been listening to arguments all week about, should you pull for an LD? Now, you don't need anything else but his LD, and for him to be, crystal strength up, and get that ability to call, to use that, because who cares about his damage? Yes, if he does more damage, great, but you're doing it for that debuff. And so the only thing you need is his LD, fully limit broke on him, and him crystal strength up to be able to equip it, or you be able to equip it to others. So, you're not necessarily having to invest a lot of other resources, especially if you just get... So here's the thing, if you got the LD on the free pull, you don't have to go chasing his EX or any of his other gear. And even for a new player, if they pulled his LD on a free pull, it's nice. But yeah, the question is, and it has been, is it worth pulling just for an LD call? Well, I think here's the argument. Obviously, if you don't have any... I've been talking about this on both of my last pull videos. There's 2 basic schools of people in this game. And there's people in between, obviously, but there's 2 large groups of people. There's people who have no resources at all, who pull on every single banner. Oh, I've got 5,000 gems, I'm going to pull on a banner. Oh, I've got 20 tickets, I'm going to pull on a banner. That's a lot of the player base. Maybe not a lot of the player base that listens to the Crystal Chronicles, but even in our Discord and our community, that's a big chunk of the player base. And then there's the millionaires, the hoarders, the people that have planned and have a lot of resources. If you have 1 million gems, pull for an LD. Yeah, why not? Who cares? You do whatever you want. If you don't have a lot of gems and you pull on every banner, you're probably already pulling. So it's the people who are trying to, work their way up from having no resources to having some resources. They really need to ask themselves some questions. Do I have 75,000 gems? No, then don't pull. Do I have 200 or 300 tickets to invest in this? No, then don't pull. Are there characters coming up that I'm interested in? Yes, don't pull. But if you have a considerable amount of resources, you're talking about an LD that you're going to LD call that you're going to use for 8 months. How many characters have you pitied that you've only used for 2 weeks? How many characters have you pitied that you've used maybe once or twice, 2 fights? You're talking about an LD that you're always going to use. It's going to be on your team every single fight forever. Tell me that's not a decent investment. Tell me that's not worth 200-300 tickets. Tell me that's not worth 75,000 gems if you have it. I actually think it might be a really good investment in terms of there's not a lot of characters that you're going to play for a long time. There's not a lot of Lightnings. There's not a lot of Gladioluses. Yeah, definitely have resources for those characters. But, if you have the resources and you don't pick up Jack, you don't need him. But why not, why not? Pick it up. That's my 2 cents. I don't care. I don't care what you do. They're your resources. I spent 230-something tickets and got his LD and his token to ZX, and I'm going to use him a couple times, and then he's going to be my LD forever. There you go. But, Kreese, any thoughts?
Yeah. I kind of agree with everything you said. Just go with what your resources and your general interest goes for. Don't pull just because of LD board or just for LD call abilities. That seems like a silly use of resources unless you have a lot of resources to use. And Mino, saying hoarding's a disease while you hoard all the time is kind of like the pot calling the kettle black. So just think about that. Anyways, I generally agree with everything you said. It's relatively true. Again, no, if you want to pull just for that LD call, like you have a lot of plans for using it in the future, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that either. Just think about what you're doing, think about what your plans are, and if you think you have a better use for it, do that instead. I think that's all I have to say.
What unit do you put him on? The damage dealer? Whoever the hell you want. Doesn't matter who you put him on. You can put it on the damage dealer, although it doesn't have any extra effects. Where is it here? So I would prefer to put... it doesn't give you anything, I don't think. Yeah. So I would prefer a call on the damage dealer that increases their attack, max brave damage dealt. And then your supports, you can have supporting aura type LD. So, you really want to put him on your kind of third slot, or, obviously you can put him on your attacker, but I would prefer to use, some extra damage kind of LDs on your attackers, and then have him on the support. So, his LD call is that good. He's still literally people use him every single event because there's not that many great LDs, LD calls. There are some that are fun. There are some that are useful, but it's doing a lot of damage. You can get him up to 5 stacks really quick, and that is a lot of additional, damage going on. What are the stacks when he's up to full stacks here? Defense
50.
Defense minus 50 and brave damage taken plus 30. So that's a really good on one button. I have that for 6 turns. Him and Kurasame do stack, I believe, don't they? Yeah. When you get his Kurasame's, we'll get a LD boards at some time. Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to point out something. If you can't afford this luxury now, this LD does come back.
Yes.
I believe PC mentioned it was Leon's LD. So that is it's a couple many months down the road. But I
it's
understand
on a Titus BT. It's Titus BT, Leon LD, Jack LD.
So yeah, that's pretty hype, guys. So if you are not able to afford it now, you might want to be able to plan for it and get yourself maybe Titus BT or Titus BT, however you want to say it. You can get yourself a Leon LD and the Jack LD. Hey, that's a pretty good banner to me. I don't know about you guys, but I always understand luxuries are what they are. They're luxuries.
Exactly.
And characters always. And honestly, if I think there was other characters that were mentioned that can do similar-ish effects, even though they're not quite as potent as Jack's, but they will come. So there will be more opportunities to get extra characters who kind of have these brave damage ups brave damage taken by the enemy will be increased, kind of things, and defense downs and all that other good stuff.
Yeah,
we'll have the chance. So,
you don't
right.
need it. Like we say,
Right.
you don't need BTs either. But hell, they make your life a lot easier. And this, if this shaves 2 or 3 turns off of a fight, it's going to make life easier. And so, yeah, if you have the resources, if you have a good plan, and if you don't, if you don't really have a good plan, how do I plan? How do I start saving? Jin Lee has a great video on it. Tomberry Troop has some good resources. Just come to our Discord and hang out with people who have over 1 million gems and figure out how they did it. It's not that hard. You make a plan and you stick to it. And yeah, you can figure out how to make that moving forward. But again, I think the majority of folks who are hoarding resources, there's no reason for them not to pull for Jack, unless they're people who just hate, like Belial, who just hates using ingots and fully maxed characters and likes to give himself some extra challenges. For those of you who don't like to play the game as much as some of our friends and content creators, feel free. So yeah, win more button. Yeah, I mean, it just makes life easier. Makes cheese cheesier. If you like lightning, you should probably get Jack. for his healthy. You're going to be carrying lightning through anyway. All right. We have a time for a couple of questions, and I don't want to dig too much into our questions. We will end like in maybe 15 minutes or so. And I do want to talk a little bit. Well, let's talk the calendar, and then if we have time for questions, we'll take another questions. I'm assuming next week we don't have a lot of content, so that might be more of a Q&A, kind of retrospective. Maybe Chris will have some insights to add from their time there. So catching up on some things. So we can have a little bit of fun with that, do some co-ops or something.
It'll be nice to have a breather week because
but we might.
I actually have a light week next week because of Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
So I might have some time to catch up on things.
We're about to forget to talk about this LUFENIA. Did we want to talk about
No. This LUFENIA is stupid, and we shouldn't talk. Yeah, okay, fine. We got to talk about the LUFENIA. Sorry, thank you, Arrow, for keeping us on track. We were just talking about... First, I'm just skipping ahead. First, let's go to the podcast polls. Remember, Quetsteria Bot. That's a new thing I created. Materia Bot from Quetzalma. You can support Materia Bot on Patreon. Feel free to do that. It is on 9 servers. 0 willing to pity Ultimish's first. 27 willing to pity Jack's LD. 12 using gems. 131 tickets. And 48 skippers. So, there you go. That was it for that. Jack's LUFENIA. 2 Flutter Jellies. We fought the Flutter Jellies before in Jack's event. They get a LUFENIA orb at 79%. It starts with a 15 count, disappears at 49, and reappears at 39% of their HP for an 8 count. Melee damage freezes the orb, so it's a real simple orb to deal with. Just like normal, minus 1 count per action, minus 2 count per enemy action. They absorb thunder. Sorry, lightning. They're immune to paralysis and speed down. They get into what's the phase? They get all worked out. What's it called?
Concentration.
Yes, they go into concentration. That makes their attacks more powerful. The only way to get that out is to give them turns, I think. Allow them to act, or maybe break through some thresholds.
You've got so many turns, and it even counts enemy turns. So you can
Yes.
use that to your advantage. AAs work. Any kind of turns work. You just need to take 3 actions before the enemy takes their turn to avoid the spinning blades plus.
Yep. And you will want to avoid that. And the bosses gain shields at certain HP thresholds that cannot be broken with insta-breaks.